So we're doing exercise 5b, and in this video I'm going to be answering question 5c, which tells us that we need to sketch the graph of each of the following and state the range of each. And here we've been given y equals x squared minus 4, where x is equivalent to -1 to 2. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come and look here and say, well, I know how to draw y equals x squared. Y equals x squared is simply going to look like this, like that. And now I need to go y equals x squared minus 4. So this minus 4 is just going to shift it down vertically 4 spaces. So I'm going to grab my graph and go 1, 2, 3, 4. If you didn't want to go through all of that, what you could have done is realize that we're dealing with a parabola and just found your x and y intercepts. To find your y-intercept, what you're going to do is say, well, y-int occurs when x is 0. So I'm going to get y equals 0 minus 4. So therefore, y is going to equal -4. And then I can come here and say that my y-intercept is going to be 0 and -4. Then I need to find what my x-intercepts are going to be. I'm going to have one here. I'm going to have one here. My x-int are going to be when y equals 0. My x-ints are going to be when y equals 0. So it's going to be 0 equals x squared minus 4. I'm going to plus 4 to both sides. Then I'm going to square root both sides. I'm going to get the square root of 4 equals x. And it's important to remember we're going to have a plus or minus. So it's going to be plus or minus 2 equals x. So here is going to be minus 2, and over here it will be 2. But let's stop and think for a second. We haven't really stopped and thought about the fact that our domain is between -1 and 2. That's going to affect some things. That means that my graph is going to exist. Let me put in some writing for a second. It's going to be, this is going to be 1. This is going to be, sorry, this is going to be -1. And this is going to be 1. And it's telling me that it exists between -1 and 2. So that means that this intercept right here really isn't going to come into play, because I know that my graph exists between where x is -1 and where x is 2. So I then could go from -1, I could say, well, my graph therefore is going to stop right here, and it's also going to stop at x equals 2, which is right here. So now I'm going to get rid of this blue here, if I can. I'm going to get rid of this point. I don't need this point anymore. Oops, that was too much. So let me just do some cleanup. I'm going to get rid of this parabola. And I'm going to say that my graph is going to be from here to here, then from here to here. Remembering that we found my turning point here, and we have my end point here, where x is -1, and here where x is 2. So now what I need to do is find out what my coordinates are going to be for this. Well, I know that my x is going to be -1. What's my y going to be? And so too, my endpoint here, I know that my x is going to be 2, and I actually know that my y is going to be 0 because I figured out it's my x-intercept. So now I need to figure out what my y will be. So let me come here and make some room to do this. I'm going to grab this, I'm going to shrink it down and make it a bit like that. To find what my y is going to be, I'm going to sub x equals -1 into this. So I could say into y equals x squared minus 4. That's the ugliest looking y I've ever seen. Y. So what I'm going to end up getting is y equals -1 squared minus 4, which is going to be y equals 1 minus 4, which is going to be equal to y equals -3. So that means that right here it's going to be -3, and that checks out because this is going to be -1, this is going to be -2, this is going to be negative 3, and this is negative 4. So therefore, this all checks out. This point will be negative 1, negative 3, and this point will be 2, 0. Now, I've drawn my graph. Now I need to state what my range is going to be. What is my range going to be? Well, my range is where my y's exist, or the set of all the possible y's. As you can see here, it's going to start at negative 4 and go up and up and up and up and up, and then stop here at 0. So my y, my range, is going to be from negative 4 to 0, and close that bracket there. Square brackets because I'm including them. So hopefully that answered any questions about 5C.